he was a game design major, and his name is Erik Link. And Erik was picked by the Activision Capture Studio to help with motion capture work on Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which will release November 2015. So everyone, please give a warm UT welcome to Erik Link.
Hey! So how many of you guys are into game design? All right. How many of you guys are into art and animation? All right. Programming? All right. All right, a little bit of myself. When I first started here, I basically got into game design, and I skipped the whole art and animation and went straight into motion capture and animation. So let's get this started. So from game design to mocap and the true essentials of networking. Sorry with the title, like I just had to figure a way to kind of put the essentials of like everything as far as like speech. So we're gonna talk about a little bit of game design, mocap, and a little bit of networking. So without further ado, let's start. How did it all start? So I basically got into UAT mainly because I had a huge love and passion for video games, but also loved movies and films as well. But I never thought like I could ever get into like film industry just because of how competitive it is. So me being very naive, not realizing that the video game industry is the exact same thing, I decided to go to like look at various alternative routes as far as like how do I get into jobs in video games. And UAT was the top choice mainly because it was the most local. Cap class I learned from Clee Miller, which he used to be here. He worked on King Kong, so I learned a little bit from him. Which UAT also had a connection for THQ. And when I did my mocap class, when I was done with it, I ended up getting picked by Clee and other students as well for like from UAT to be a part of like an internship. Well, more so like just as an interview to get into THQ, where I had my first internship at THQ doing motion capture. And I was basically, it was just a simple, I didn't think I was going to like an 8-guy like interview, and the only reason I got picked was because I had an understanding of mocap. And from that, I just learned from like a couple of like top industry veterans that have been around for a while doing motion capture for like 5 to 8 years, and they taught me the essentials. But my problem was that I only knew just the mocap software. I didn't know 3D animation, didn't know any like game design principles. I didn't know like Unreal at the time. I mean, Unity wasn't around at that time. So I just knew like the bare bones. And when it came to Motion Builder, I knew nothing about that software. But I just knew how to use Ava RT at that time, which now is Cortex, which is what you guys are all set up for. But through that, like I had a better understanding how to work with mocap pipeline, understanding like how to create like like a distinct like rigid body through, or not. Sorry, I'm saying rigid body. Like, words a little just tired. But I had a better understanding to create like a skeleton through the marker sets that they had to pipeline out through to the many characters that they had. So with that, I kind of took everything they had and was like, all right. And then only too, I was working on some video games as well, and was going like, all right. I got in. I have all this knowledge, and then only too, like my name's gonna be on a video game and all that. And because like who knows what happened to THQ? Yeah, if you don't know, like THQ, like they are filed bankruptcy and are gone like by 2012. They used to be a top player in the industry, and now they're not. And even like all my mocap work that I did for them, this was in 2008. They canceled all the stuff that I worked on. Of course, I worked on like 3 video games, and they just canceled all of it. So my big first step in the industry, and I had nothing to show for it. So, and that was like the biggest crunch I had to deal with in my entire life, is saying like I worked at THQ and I had nothing. And that's just how it is. Sometimes you will work on a project and spend a lot of time for it, and then all of a sudden project management will be like, yeah, it's not to our standards for dot 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 reason, and THQ tended to do that a lot. That's just their business choice, and the only thing I can say is that I think some of my stuff was implemented in Kingdoms of Amalur because we did some stuff for Big Huge Games, but I don't know if they took the same mocap that we had or what we had. But there was some precursor stuff from Kingdoms of Amalur, and that's about it. And the other games we just got canceled. So after that, I just kind of said to myself, like, well, since I was not that good with, since I was good in mocap, I need to start getting better at the software. Which one thing about game design is that will help you out, especially if you wanted to just get out there, even as an artist or even as a programmer, just like in just getting in the gaming industry in general, is being fluent. Man, that is really terrible. I can't even see the logos. But you can see like the Vicon Motion Builder logo barely. But the thing is, through my course of like UAT, I ended up just becoming a little bit more fluent into like 3D animation and level design packages. Because especially when you get into mocap, it really was just, like, oh, you're using just Motion Builder or Maya or 3ds Max or whatever depending software you're using, whether it be Vicon or Cortex. But when I started, like, I ended up just kind of got more fluent in Motion Builder because no matter what, if you're going to get into mocap, you're going to want to know how to use Motion Builder as much as possible, because that software is very key to every pipeline of any form of animation, even for film. Where going through all the software that I know, and like one thing that helped me for game design was just learning all this software and getting formed to know Unity, using Unreal, because you're going to be using. Just noticed it got dark over there. But oh, it's fine. Ooh, looks a little bit nicer. Oh, sorry, I lost train of thought here. But through that, because you're gonna with mocap, we use a lot of like real-time setup, so that way the client can look at like, oh, this is what the actual mocap looks like, and especially when like ILM, I think like every other mocap studio, even back in like 2008, was using various proprietary forms. I mean, mostly we're using Motion Builder, but now like even for Activision, we were there talking about using Unreal, and just like the amount of like live streaming that you can provide into an in-game engine is just getting better and better each year, and the fact that mocap's getting thrown at it. But through my game design process, it helped as far as like learning all these engines, because that gave me like another like edge where it's like, oh, not only did I did mocap, but it's like I also knew how to use these type of game design engines as well through trying to make my own level design. But even though like I was terrible at like anything art related, I was like really terrible at. I mean, I'm somewhat good at keyframe animation, but not that great. So I mean, my mistake is I should have chose like a game art degree, but I decided to do games because I really wanted to do video games. But I ended up just saying like, you know what, I'm just good at mocap because that's where I got my internship, and that's why I know most of. Where just learned every software through my game design package or from the whole like classes. Sorry for mumbling, just. But through that, I got very fluent with various types of softwares. Where after I graduated, I decided like, alrighty, I've got my internship still. I finished my internship through THQ, and I have my degree, and I've fluent with all the softwares. So let's start throwing applications out there and see if I can get a job. Which brings up to the next issue is like after each application I threw it out, I had interviews with. I had a little bit more companies than this, but this is just kind of like some of the big ones that I had interviews with over a 5 years course period, and they rejected me. Like all these guys like rejected me. I mean, even with the amount of experience that I had through THQ and the knowledge. I mean, that's one thing I will say is when you get out, I mean, you're gonna get. They will contact you and look at your application like, oh, that's awesome and stuff, but doesn't mean you're gonna get a job. The interview is just that first step that's gonna get you everywhere. And sometimes you can succeed and sometimes you don't. Just I'm not really great interviewee. I'm kind of like terrible. As you can see, I'm like kind of stuttering as I speak. But I learned from each one like how like already what was the essentials to meet the qualifications to get this type of job. And even with their 5 years of course, I kind of was just kind of dragging, kind of got depressed, and it's like, oh, I don't even know if I'll get in the industry and whatnot. So I was like going like, okay, what can I do to get in? How can I meet these? How can I get a job with these guys? Like, I mean, I got an interview from them, but I failed, and I did not meet their expectations. So I decided, like, you know what? The other true essentials to getting a job is networking. Even though through Activision, I just threw an application, but still, it helped for various reasons. So where I basically use Facebook and LinkedIn. Normally, I don't use Facebook a lot, but because of LinkedIn and just like now, like how Facebook's like evolved, there I got into like group activities. I mean, like who has LinkedIn? Awesome. If you guys don't have LinkedIn, start one now. Seriously, it's going to save you a lot of headaches down the road because like you have a lot of There's everybody in the industry has a LinkedIn, no matter what. And only to everybody that is a contributing like to any type of industry will have like a group account to various events to where you can meet and attend. So through LinkedIn, I ended up signing up to the MoCap Society, where through that I got like event invites guides or like a whole bunch of like guides and like industry input from people around the world for MoCap, which they ended up creating a sub event through Facebook, which was just everybody posting various articles and things like going on to today's industries. And not only that too, through these two social medias, I got into like, I mean, like who's ever gotten GDC? All right, you guys need to go to GDC more often. Like 3 people. But with GDC, like there's tons and tons of after parties, and like they'll always be posted on LinkedIn or Facebook. So like always join. If you're into like game design, there will be some type of game design group that you should just join in, or like an art and animation group, and like I don't know, there's a Paul account. There's tons and tons of like events that are available that are being posted on Facebook or LinkedIn, and with that, I ended up mostly just networked around from the MoCap Society and anything local that was around here. Anything that's like been posted. So I mean, through that, like, this is one essential as far as like networking is like getting yourself known and talking to people and like being there. So because once they see, when you throw an application out, all they see is a paper. But if you have a presence and say like, hey, I've done this and this and this, people will recognize you and be like, oh yeah, you did this, you did that, and all that stuff. You need to know like you're a known person, and not only too, you can have like a better insight as far as what's going on in the industry as well. So through my networking, I ended up contacting one of my good friends, Ben, who I met through a couple of my other friends who worked on his own 3D video game called Guitaru. And with Guitaru, especially not only that too, if you guys get a chance, take a look at it. I mean, it's not done yet. It's still got a lot of work on it, which I'm kind of still, since I'm off contract on Activision, I'm kind of still finishing up like smaller like mocap stuff, like here or there. But Ben had a Kickstarter in 2012. I mean, he's still working on it. It's a big 3D video game. He's a talented artist as well. Cause like everything you see here, he created, especially like animation. He's just a 3D journalist whiz. And he created a Kickstarter for Guitaru, and it's still in development. But I ended up like meeting him through friends through Facebook, and we ended up like helping out on the project for helping provide mocap and a little bit of animation, but mostly mocap animation through Guitaru, which had helped continue my resume as well, saying like here's me doing an indie work. So through through Guitaru, I also ended up bringing in Dedeker Winston and Chris Emerson, which I knew them from the MoCap Society, which Dedeker has worked on Planet of the Apes, various like Sony projects providing mocap, and Christopher Emerson was a voice actor for one of the Resident Evil 5. And I mean, like these guys were already in the industry doing stuff, and like I just told them like, hey, I'm working on Guitaru and all this, and they were like, it's like, oh, do you guys need actors? I was like, yeah, if you guys were willing to stop by in Arizona, and they were down, and we had them recorded up at UAT, and just record them, and it was like my first actual professional work with actors doing mocap, because last time was like in 2008, and this was like 2013 that I ended up just recording these guys and just be able to provide like, okay, we have like, here's my own mocap, where I ended up doing like, I have like 300 like animation files that I was like doing. So like the entire remaining year, I ended up just making mocap animations and pipelining it out, and helping out Ben as possible for any of the takes. And so I mean, another thing too is we also had like facial capture going on as well, starting until I got a job at Activision. So, but through Guitaru, I ended up getting noticed by Activision. in which, yeah, it's a great picture. In which it was like, how did this happen? Like, how did it come from just being indie to working AAA? Well, and this is where networking comes in. How this ended up happening is I just easily just submitted an application. After being turned down several times, and especially dealing with DreamWorks, it was just kind of like, like I left a bad taste in my mouth because it was just I was late. The interview was 30 minutes late and just was not a great interview to begin with as far as jobs were. Just I kind of like lost faith as far as like getting a job in motion capture. I was like, I'm just gonna just stay on this indie style and just like not work with like big top productions. And I am just throwing an application out for Activision, and I was just like, oh, I'll just throw it out there. Like, I probably won't get it, they won't hire me. And then I end up getting contact from the HR to basically set up an interview. I was like, okay, I'll do it, but I don't think I'm gonna get it. So I end up doing the interview, and the first thing I noticed, they said you're gonna talk to Mike Sanders. And Mike Sanders, if you don't know him, he used to work for ILM, and he also know that he did a speech in 2008 for UAT as well. And I was there for that speech as well. And not only two, I had an interview with him in 2013 2014 for a job at ILM to work on Turtles, but I ended up doing the interview, and I thought I failed, which there was a little bit more to it until I ended up having the interview with Mike again. But when I ended up doing the interview with Mike, I started talking to like Mike, and he started doing the whole speech. And he's like, I used to work at ILM, and da da da. Oh, I used to work at. I did a speech for UAT, and I was like, you interviewed me last year for Turtles. And he's like, oh yeah. Like, yeah, you would have had that job, but no, the ILM pulled all the budgeting. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's it would have been really cool to work at ILM, and you guys work on Star Wars. But through that, he immediately recognized me from that, and from a simple 15-minute interview, it ended up being 40 minutes, mainly because like I knew him through 2008, and I met him. I talked to him last year through an interview through ILM, where he ended up doing Activision because he just kind of got tired of working with movies and just said like, you know what, video games are just a lot easier to work with than the film industry. And because of that, he just basically said like, you know what, you're a good choice for this candidate, and I interviewed you before, so we're gonna hire you. So well, I like to think that, but just the interview just went really well, and we just ended up talking just about mocap for about 40 minutes, and then he said just his last statement was like, alrighty, we'll send an email and let you know what's the next step. And then 3 hours later, I ended up getting a job offer for Activision. Nice. So it was like the biggest like, holy crap. Didn't think, and I was going, and then they're like, oh yeah, and you're gonna work on the new Call of Duty. That just, and of course, Black Ops 3 at that time was just announced. So going like, whoa, okay, this is a little bit crazy. So and through that, I was like, alrighty, I made it, I'm in. And then the next step came from fitting in with the team. Which, if you don't know, that's Bobby Kotick right there. So like that's the owner of Activision, the CEO right there. And this is like the entire like mocap team. And you can see Mike Sanders is right there, over there. And there's Ben, Mike, Andre, David, Evan. I mean, like I'm sorry, I'm like drawing some blank with a couple names, but like but that's the entire like mocap team right there. And Bobby Kotick, which is still cool. Like that even though it was contract, I got to see him and be right next to the actual creator of Activision. But to fit in with the team was an interesting process because they wanted me to use Blade. I did not have any knowledge of the Blade pipeline software, mainly because this is the top industry motion capture pipeline production. UAT never had it. And only two, I never had access to it because just it was never available for me to use. I mean, I've always saw stuff for it, but I never worked with it. And the reason that I was hired was because I had experience using mocap, and then I've done cleaning data, and they want somebody that was more seasoned onto that type of pipeline. So for the first 2 weeks, I had to learn Blade immediately and just use the same amount of pipeline that I did for Cortex in a matter of 2 weeks, and just to churn out as much data as we could because they were about to release very soon. So they just needed and the only two they had probably for this project I probably did I think 500 files. I mean, for Call of Duty, there is a lot of animations. Especially for no one, you're just gonna see a lot of character movement for various amount of things. and not only that too, like also objects as well, because we would mocap the guns and everything. So, and fitting in, I had to just like get used to like the huge pipeline process, which can be overwhelming. But at the same time, I had help from these guys, and not only that too, like they kept like pushing and pushing, and not only because when you start a job in the industry, there's a lot of pressure that can go on. I mean, like a lot of people can't handle it, and I mean it can get to you. But the thing is, you just gotta you gotta pace yourself. I mean, for the good thing about for Activision, especially for us, we didn't really quote unquote have like a huge crunch. We just kind of just crunched during the weekdays, and the weekends we just had off. So that was kind of good. Not unless it was something major where it's like, oh, like those files you sent out, it's like, yeah, it turned out there was an error with them, and we need somebody to take care of on the weekend, so that way Treyarch can get this and such taken care of. But it was great. I had a great time like working for them for like 4 months and just being able to do mocap, and not only too, we did like real-time streaming and just tons and tons of cool stuff, and being able to work with like professional actors. So I mean, it's a huge difference working from indie where you're just so used to like using minimal stuff to where you're basically like, okay, you have all these tools available at your disposal. So, and just like you just gotta deliver, and that's just the whole thing. You have to deliver no matter what, and if you can do that, then you're fine. So, but as working for that team, I ended up just mostly, I didn't get to see much of like Call of Duty, so like all I saw was just basically like basic mesh wires, like here's a dummy rig, and just here's your basic like COD soldier that we worked with. So like most of the stuff I never seen, where finally like since the games are about to release, I'm seeing more and more stuff that I worked on. So without further ado, here is, well, gonna get out of here. I'm gonna show you an actual trailer that actually has my work on it. Oh, and also, this also has some coarse language and some violence, so... Yeah. So I was going to turn this up. So without further ado, here is Black Ops 3. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this, so... But we'll show it again.
My brothers have gone dark, but nobody knows just how far. Holy shit. I don't think these people volunteered. I've got to chase the chaos as deep as it goes.
The last reported operation at this station was John Taylor's team.
The people who did this are traitors. They're going to continue to help the enemy. We need to fight back.
But when I look at the hard truth, I may not want to come back.
When people really want to bury secrets, they tend to bury bodies right along with them.
You think Taylor's team killed our people? I don't know how much of the real Taylor is left.
Please don't. You don't know what this will do.
I can feel it taking over. Not even my mind is safe. You still in there, John? Do you hear me?
Don't understand. I'm taking us home.
Woo. So what do you guys think about that? Yeah, like the one thing I'll say is like Treyarch is ridiculous as far as because like it's because I mean I'm so used to seeing like mesh and I'm like wow that is just amazing. We just gave you like raw data and you guys just so like seeing that I mean like I'm still like blown away by it. It's like oh I did that, whole crap. So yeah, but still like huge thanks goes to Treyarch. Like those guys can do they're an amazing team as well. So I mean not to say like with the capture duty we provide a lot, but like there are a lot of kudos goes to them for just there's a lot of guys that implemented that and just a lot of talent went on that project. So, but so besides like that's my tale for like getting in the industry. The other thing I want to tell you as far as like actually the future of mocap. So as you can see, have you guys seen Jurassic World? Yes. So you know that's Blue the dinosaur right there. So seeing a lot of like stuff for like mocap, the one thing that always like surprised me was this like that now motion capture has gotten to the point of we're able to retarget any data onto any creature. We're like, believe it or not, Blue was a mocap actor. Like the entire Jurassic World, like the raptors and even the Dominus Rex was an actual actor, which is so weird because I didn't think mocap would be used for creatures. I always thought that you'd have to use like a bipeds, like like humans, orcs, you have to be like either some type of humanoid person to provide motion capture. Where the reason why ILM chose an actor for Blue or like for the Raptors and vice versa was because of the fact that they wanted the nuances. Where when you get into animation, especially when they do keyframe animation, where it's like if you had a creature, like grab like a glass cup, it would just be this perfect time frame where it'd be like it'd be like too good where it's unrealistic, where they just wanted the nuances, where they wanted like somebody to do like the head bob or just kind of like have like those subtle nuances to where like this looks somewhat lifelike or real. And always kind of went on the phrase like, oh, you won't use mocap to make a dragon and all that stuff, which ended up happening with Smog, which is by Benedict Cumberbatch. But it's just insane that like you can create anything now through mocap. I mean, like, there's always like things you have to work with, but that's becoming a big hot thing. I mean, especially like with the next like Jurassic Park, they're going to do the exact same thing as well. And not only that, too, Andy Serkis's Animal Farm is going to be using heavy mocap as well too. So expect people to play as pigs and sheep while talking. So I mean, that's going to be crazy. And the other thing too is like how realistic are facial motion. Seeing like Black Ops 3, especially just like how because we use 152 markers on the actual like face to like capture and just having that onto an actor. I mean, like it's ridiculous. I mean, every year it just gets realistic, and not only that too, it's becoming cheaper. Where now you just have a webcam to like mocap your face, and like the entire facial capture pipeline is getting better every year. And also, we're removing the whole need of having a huge camera setup or just having putting balls where like there's like so many like there's an active marker setup where for like Avengers and Planet of the Apes, it's just guys wearing suits, literally, and that's it. And they're able to do outside mocap. They're not even restricted. I mean, for Planet of the Apes, they still had to use cameras and vice versa. I mean, there's always that need and use for it, but like there's always other technologies where it's just like, oh, this is wireless, and you don't need to have cameras, and you can provide your own mocap solution for various other projects. And not only that too, like the other reason how like mocap got so big was through biomedicine. So before, I mean, it can be known to be used in like film and entertainment and video games, but its actual true essential is in biomedicine, where it's used for kinesiology and also helping out patients and vice versa. Where I think there's the money for especially for like Viacom, they make most of their money off hospitals and universities for biomedicine than they do off of the entertainment industry. So as much as you can say like, oh, it's making much money if this company's using this and this and this, but it's like actually the guys using the best technologies are like these hospitals, and it's helping a lot of people. So that's where it's where it's been staying, and I mean that's how it's got started, and that's how it ended up evolving into getting into film and entertainment video games. But the one thing that's getting really interesting about it is that it's going into VR. Believe it or not, since I said like you don't need to use cameras, like there are suits out there that are available to where basically that can just connect to the Oculus Rift, where you can basically create your own video game and create your own VR simulation. I mean, not too. Who's heard of the Void? The Void, yeah. If you guys don't know what the Void is, it's an actual VR theme park. Yeah. So, and like literally, I mean, like I've seen a couple of videos. The funny thing about that is that the props, they have like little dots on them. So like it's an actual like in truth it's, I don't know what cameras they're using, but they're using a real-time setup with either, I'm assuming either Unity or Unreal. Well, I'm gonna probably say Unreal just because like it's a little bit more accurate. But the thing is you're in a room in a giant mocap volume that you're interacting to create these various stuff, and not only do you have an Oculus and you're wearing a suit. So the thing is that VR is just getting more and more headway, and then a lot of it's because of like mocap technology, because it's like how accurate it is, and where just all you do is put on a suit to, like, with either say markers or just rubber bands. I mean, there's so many types of technology, and the Void's getting a lot of like headway because like it's the first VR theme park. But at the same time, you can go on YouTube videos and just see somebody create their own like video game, especially like Star Wars, where it's just like you're holding a lightsaber and vice versa. I mean, I don't know how to say this. It's like there's just tons and tons and tons of videos of that to show somebody using VR, and somehow or some shape they're using some form of mocap technology that makes it more engaging to the user. So, and I have no clue as far as like the future of like how this is all going to work out, but it's each and every day and year it seems like that VR is getting more and more popular. I wouldn't say like it's becoming like industry standard yet, because like the problem with like the technology, especially even with like the HoloLens, like saying like $3,000. I mean it's becoming more available, but it's not at a price point to where people can like where you can buy like a video game console to where it's like it's $500, where like these things are like $1,000 or $2,000, and it's just like you're just doing one essential game at the moment. So, but however, it's just a really big push as for this type of technology, like to create various experiences. So, other than that, I'll leave up to Q&A. So, guys, have any question on anything?
I forget what you called the system that you worked on when you were at Activision, but how similar was it to Cortex?
It was not similar by any means. Like, if anything, Blade was 10 times better, because like you can actually keyframe in Blade. So like, so if I say if like there's just like one ball that is just like screwed up, I'll be like, oh, well, I'll just delete it and keyframe it, because I ended up doing finger mocap as well, which is very fun. It's terrible. Yes.
I was wanting to ask, how much keyframing did you actually have to do while working on that?
Not a lot, because we were doing like proprietary motion, so like you just like everything would be kind of like rigid. Like any of the like keyframing that I would be mostly just like the fingers, because like when you're touching the butt of the gun, you're losing like either the pinky or the index finger, or sometimes the thumb, where like the actor is going to do something where you're going to lose that data. So I would either try to bring it back, and sometimes it would just look junky, and I would just have to be like, alrighty, well, I'll just keyframe it and just put it right here and just have it transitioned and just make sure that it aligns. That, because I mean, when you do mocap, you capture it and then it follows on a path, and you want to make sure that that path is accurate as much as possible. So, any other questions? Yeah.
How did you hear about UAT?
Actually, one of my buddies, like back in high school, like told me about it, and I was like, really? There's a game studio here, or a game college here? And from there, I ended up just like just attended like I think one of the lectures, or I can't remember, because that was so long ago. It was like 2004. So when I heard about it, I was like, oh, like I'm very interested. So I ended up like visiting and just got to see the campus, and I was like, you know what? It's accredited, and like it's local, so let's do it. Cool. Any other questions?
What's your favorite memory working with Activision so far?
Favorite memory? Oh, jeez. There was a lot of things that happened. I think my God, I think anytime we worked with like the actors, I mean there was just a lot of like there was like some hilarious drama that would happen, and then only to just Ben and Evan just with their little shenanigans doing stuff. But then again like God. Because the cool thing about that place is not only did we do like motion capture, we did like 3D scanning. So like I actually literally have a 3D scan model of myself. that's like game ready. It can be put into an asset. So yeah, so I mean, there's just, I mean, like it's hard to say because not only too they when you work at Activision, they treat you out. So even though I was on a 4-month contract, because like I've been used to like THQ working contract work, and I mean they like THQ is like there was no perks. I mean I even did like QA work for them, and I mean it was a job. I mean they kind of, it was kind of nice, but not not nearly as much as Activision, because when you work for them, their big philosophy is they want to even though your contract, it's like you're working for us and you're part of family, so we're going to treat you out. I mean, like even on my last day, they basically were like, alrighty, we're just going to have like this one meeting, like alrighty, we're just going to hang out and we're going to eat like pigs and treat Eric out because this is going to be the last day and we're going to miss you. Yeah, so and then not only too, like they already said like they like depending on when they can get like, I mean there's always a business aspect you have to keep in mind where I was only contracted for Black Ops 3, and the main reason for that is because they used outsourcing so much to where they went over budget. So they needed somebody. I mean, it was cheaper just to hire me than to just kind of ship everything out. And so like I ended up helping Treyarch, and not only too, they were just kind of in a crunch. So I ended up like in that 4 months to be able to help them out, which like basically helps Activision making this game release on time for you guys, and so that way you can play this awesome video game that you see right here. But yeah, it's like it's a great. I recommend if you see any job postings and you think you meet that qualifications, do it. Just apply and go for it. It's a good company to work for. Yeah. So any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, now that you guys have that connection at Activision, do you think you'll probably be working on any other games with them in the future potentially?
Yeah. Oh, they already told me that there will be a spot open in April. So it'll be for Sledgehammer's games, but there's also other things coming along the ways. Because I mean, the other thing too, if you don't know, like you guys are you guys all Blizzard fans and all that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is a little funny things I had to dealt with. Like I've had many talks from Blizzard when they say like we don't use mocap, because that's the other thing too that I've considered quote unquote the devil like in the keyframe animation community, because like we provide an easy source solution where it's just like, oh, you lose all the technique and all that stuff, but like Blizzard's using mocap for World of Warcraft already. So like I mean, especially for the new one like Legion, and even I think it's just the new one that's coming out, but they're already using that, and they're using it for the Activision like capture studio as well. So I mean like yeah.
I just wanted to ask, are there any motion capture studios in Arizona?
No. I mean like there's only there. It's kind of sad because like I only got to work at the only Arizona mocap studio, but I mean there was one place that had like a facial capture system, but it was like using electromagnets and chips, and they went out of business not too long ago because with wireless, like how I say is like the webcam facial capture stuff where you just don't need to put dots because like they already had like weird technology, so they went out of business. And I mean, at the same time, I'm trying to actually create a motion capture facility in Arizona. I have my own facial capture software. I have my own body capture software. It's just the only problem with me is that my business, like I would love to do video games and animation, but it's going on a different perspective, and it won't be fully operational until 2016. So I'm still waiting for a couple things to go through, mainly equipment, because I'm still waiting for my body capture suit to come in. It's from China, and if you don't know, there was a giant bombing that happened. I won't say bombing, just an explosion on a major trade facility. Yeah, so that kind of like screws everything over for various businesses over on that. But like once that suit comes in, that's when I can be able to provide motion capture for various companies, more indie, not AAA, because like the AAA talents have just use all the studios in LA or in Vancouver. Yeah. Anybody else?
I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
What was the best advice one of our professors gave you at your time here at UAT?
Best advice: don't give up. Like, I'll be honest. It took me 5 years to get a job in the industry. Like even if you graduate, like the thing is so you have to be very persistent on it. Like especially anybody in the industry, you can look at as far as like Walt Disney to Bill Gates to various people in the industry. I mean, you're not going to get in the industry just like that. It's going to be this long, hard road of persistence and being stubborn. But at the same time, you have to improve your craft as well. Because, I mean, you can't just say, like, oh, I'm a good game designer, and you've just made one game, and it looks okay. Like, because people want, like, the top tier. Like, they want stuff when they see, like, Black Ops 3. For my stuff, it was, like, the only reason that I got the job for Activision was because I worked with professional talent, and I did have an internship for THQ, and I did work on indie projects. Even though Activision was my only paying mocap one, they still saw stuff in guitar and say, like, that's closely similar to what we're working on. You just have to work indie or try to do an internship getting into the industry. But I mean, at the same time too, the economy's kind of getting better. So, like, I mean, sometimes if you just have a prior knowledge now, they're just like, oh, you know this, all right, we'll hire you, we'll train you depending on it. I mean, but for Activision, they want you to fit in quickly because they have tons of titles they need to release. I wouldn't say tons, it's just like they have one project that needs to release, and they want to make sure that it's, as far as it meets their standards of quality as well. So.
As for networking, do you have any tips to like help people network through businesses and such?
The best thing is like after parties. Like, and I know it sounds something that seems cliche because I mean you can go to GDC and just kind of like talk to go to all these speeches and all that stuff, but you want to get there at least in some form of informal way, because you're not going to make a presentational response by like, oh, I asked you a question and that's it, or if you somewhat meet them at like exhibitor, because when everybody's just kind of just at a relaxed moment state, that's when people will recognize you the most. So, and I mean, it's just all it's about just mostly is just getting to like these events and just like speaking to them in any way possible and just say like, hey, I'm just like, the other thing too I always say is like, don't go up to this like, oh, I'm looking for a job. That's like the worst thing to ask for, because then people like go like, oh God, no, I don't want to deal with you. Just basically just be humble and just make a presence and just say like, I'm looking for a job, but just still doing what I love, because I mean after years and years, they keep seeing you, we're like, so you still doing like that animation, you're still doing that mocap thing? And we're like, you're like, yeah. It's like, well, you know what? There's a buddy of mine that does this and this such and such and such and such. And it feels terrible on my end because when I got in, I just basically submitted an application. But however, if I did not know Mike Sanders through UAT or having that interview, I don't think I would have gotten the job at Activision. So I mean, that's the other thing too. Because no matter what, it's a small community. So just don't burn your bridges as well too. No matter what, just make sure, just be humble about everything, because like there's some people that you meet that won't be that great of experience, but at the same time, they'll be part of the industry as well, because like you're gonna meet everybody. I mean, like you probably see me, and who knows, like probably like 10 years in the future, you'll be like, oh, I remember Eric. He was that guy that stuttered at the UAT Tech Forum.
Any other questions? All right, well, Eric, thank you so much for coming and